to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today.
Okay, Michelle, whenever you're ready.
Yes. Happy Valentine's Day for the viewers at home. Good evening. As Secretary of the Plymouth Board of Education, I wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone present and to our viewers online. As the Plymouth Board of Education, we are here to set goals, listen to reports of the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, and personal appointments, develop policy for the district, and celebrate our students. We are not here to make management decisions, discuss personal or legal matters, or solve the problems of individuals. The management of the district is the responsibility of the superintendent. Meetings of the Board of Ed are open to the public. We offer 2 public comments during this meeting, and we ask that you respect the 3-minute time limit per speaker, which the chair may extend in her sole discretion. Decorum and courtesy are important elements in an efficient public meeting. Please silence your cell phones or communication devices and refrain from talking while others are speaking. We are very proud of this school system and thank you for your interest in the Plymouth Public Schools.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Melissa?
Second.
Dick? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. We have 2 minutes, so we're going to do them separate. So I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting from January 10th, 2018.
So moved.
Michelle, Melissa, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the special meeting on January 24th, 2018.
So moved.
Dick?
Second.
Michelle, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. We're going to go right into presentations. Dr. Summel,
All right, so I'm going to do the presentation from the podium.
please. Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. So the budget process development, we started it back in January in terms of this board is concerned, and in the last board meeting we had an initial presentation for the board, and then we had our budget workshop. First one got snowed out, but we were able to kind of go longer on the second one and accomplish what we needed to accomplish. So everyone's had a chance to kind of digest the budget. At this point, we're at the point to kind of give you a final update on where this budget presentation is and give you a chance to vote on this. Want to make it clear that we do owe a budget to the Board of Finance tomorrow. The way the charter changed, they require that a budget from the Board of Education be presented to them on February 15th. So this is about as late as a meeting can go into the calendar year and still have us be able to accomplish what the charter requires us to do. So when we go through this, we'll have to take as long or as little time as it takes to make sure we have a budget that I can bring forth to the Board of Finance tomorrow night. So we know it's a difficult year. This year that we're in is a difficult year. We're actually down by about $1.4 million from what we thought we were going to be at last year. We've had a lot of conversation. We've made a number of cuts. We've worked with the town, and currently we're working to try to have a $1.1 million contingency fund that would make the town whole by the end of the year in this current fund. So when we went into developing the 18-19 budget, we had to keep the fact in mind that the state is not in much better position. And during this process, we also learned that the governor is proposing to reduce our funds for next year by $1.163 million. If that was all to happen, we'd actually end up with more ECS funds next year than we eventually got this year, but it still would be not a pretty picture. So when we built this budget, we tried to do so as tightly as we could. while still making sure that we offered our students what they need. And as a Board of Education, you guys know that your responsibility is to the students and families in our district. So we're trying to balance both the needs of the town, but also we need to make sure that we're there for the kids. So in terms of the presentation, it's just a few slides. That last slide was a little weird, but now I think we're good. So in this particular slide, this is a reminder of the January 10th estimate. On January 10th, we were looking at a difference for the 18-19 budget compared to 17-18 of just $12,000 or 0.05%. Then we went through our workshops, time elapsed, things changed a little bit, and so there's been some changes. We know that in our regular transportation costs for next year, there's a vote on a vendor for the regular transportation. If we go with that particular, if we vote on that contract, we actually have a reduction of one bus, which would be $52,000 worth of savings. However, diesel costs for next year are about 20 cents more per gallon, so we're expecting about $18,000 extra in diesel. And magnet school transportation, we're expecting to be behind by about $8,000. It's been previous years we've seen that the grant from the state to pay us back for magnet school transportation has pretty much zeroed us out. But with fewer students choosing to go to the magnet schools and the fact that there's a cap of $1,300 per student that we get from the state to cover magnet school tuition, we believe that we need to protect against $8,000 that we see as a difference for next year. And also in the new contract that you'll be voting on tonight, we believe that there'll be about an additional $37,000 for special education transportation that we hadn't factored in the first estimate for the budget. So there's a net change coming into tonight of an additional $10,440. So our updated proposal from the January 10th estimate actually puts us up $22,645, or 0.09%. It's essentially in a $24 million budget, almost no increase at all. And keep in mind, this still includes $320,000 increase in our insurance estimate. So in fact, we've had to find $300,000 of cuts in order to get where we are here. So even though this is a bit of an increase, that insurance cost did go up. And we're going to talk about insurance a little bit right now. So the healthcare update, on January 10th, we had made an assumption of a 14% increase. But in our budget documentation, we said it was a 10% increase because of the plan design changes that we had. But we did get a proposal back from Anthem actually saying that our increase is going to be more like 17%. And again, with those design changes, it's probably going to be more realistically like 13 or 14% increase. So that $320,000 is probably higher. But it's only March, and it's hard to figure out insurance. Insurance is one of those difficult pieces. As you've heard from Mr. Penn, we've been looking at 4 different insurance options for next year. One of them was Anthem, but we also went back out to bid, and we've received different bids. You know, we're also working with Ed Advance in terms of a consortium of the Litchfield County area, trying to create a different bid to come back. So we have 4 different bids now. And the state bid, we've talked about the state 2.0 plan. I'm not sure if you were on, not everyone was on the board when we first started talking about the state plan. But there was, originally we talked about getting onto the state plan a couple of years ago. But at that time, it wasn't going to save us any money. Now the potential exists that going on to the state plan would. So it has to be a legitimate conversation to talk about moving into that plan. So there's going to have to be quite a bit of conversation to understand that plan more fully, have conversations with our bargaining groups to make sure that everything would be, in terms of the language in the contract, it would be the way it needed to state. But that's a potential savings for the Board of Education. But tonight, I don't have enough information to be able to make any kind of definitive decision around that. So there could be some potential good news coming, but right now the news from Anthem is very poor. So originally at the last budget workshop, we talked about me coming in with potential adds to the budget if the healthcare costs came in below. But since Anthem's coming in higher, we decided that would not be fruitful at this time. However, we, at the March board meeting, hopefully we'll have some better information, and that March board meeting does occur before our presentation to the Board of Finance. So you could take your adopted budget, and if you had the opportunity to, you could make some changes before I went to the Board of Finance. But I do still owe a budget to the Board of Finance tomorrow. So, but this insurance, and it's not just public school districts, but insurance has been a significant issue for lots of private businesses and certainly public agencies as well, trying to contain those costs. Some other considerations, we know that state aid is very much in flux. I've been sending out information to parents and board members about some articles that are out there. The governor's proposing another $800,000 cut in ECS. We're slated right now to get about $9.7 million in ECS funds for next year. But we know what happened this year. So to think that we're going to get all that money, I think, is a little bit foolish to try to make that assumption and put ourselves in a difficult situation. That's why we're coming in with such a low budget than we've come in previous years. But he's proposing another $800,000 cut. Actually, it's the 1.1 in his proposal, but we know from talking to our state reps, Senator Henry Martin and Representative Whit Betts, that they're not for that at all. And in my monthly update to parents and staff Friday, I'm going to let everybody know who they could potentially talk to if they chose to, and they could say whatever they wanted to say on either side of the piece, but they need to know that they need to speak to their representatives on either side. But again, state reps are telling us they're opposed to the reduction in aid, but then there's a fiscal reality of where the state is right now, so we have to be aware of that. So the Board of Finance is going to have to select what they're going to put into their budget in terms of what they see as revenue from ECS. They may need to split the difference between what we're supposed to get in the biennial budget and what Governor Malloy is saying he thinks is the right thing to do. So it seems like a little bit of a, again, moving picture to try to figure out what's actually going to happen. And we realized this year we didn't find out what was actually going to happen until November, which was unfair to our districts, not just ours, but all the other districts that have had to make changes in midstream. So our remaining budget timeline, per the charter, the budget needs to go to the town tomorrow. I've got a meeting with the Board of Finance tomorrow night. There'll be a presentation to the Board of Finance March 15th, and that's a meeting that all of you should have in your calendar and be prepared to be present at. That's a meeting where the Board of Finance can ask questions about our budget, all those good things, before they make a decision. And then it will go to a town council meeting or just or go to a referendum. It all depends on what happens in terms of what the town council is wants to put forth. We know the town charter changed in that respect as well. So if it's under 3%, it doesn't need to go out to referendum, and likely would be less than 3%, given that there's another law on the books that talks about if you go over 2.5%, the additional money you need to pay to the state when you do that. So that's something that they have to be considering as well. So I would doubt that it's going to go over that number. And with us coming in essentially zero, that increase would have to come from pretty much the entire town side. So that's where we are. So if there's questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I know we've had, like I said, we've had our budget workshops and conversations, so I bring this to you tonight.
I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the superintendent's budget of $24,235,436 for the 2018-2019 school year.
I have point of order. There was a thing that had questions, and now you're just moving it to voting. So are we not able to ask a question?
Well, after the motion's made, there's discussion, so you could certainly ask questions then.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Jerry's opposed. Any abstentions?
Wait, opposed to,
Just opening up the motion, and then we can have a discussion and ask questions.
oh,
Well, the motion's been made and seconded, so now we can have
We
discussion.
can have discussion now.
Yes.
so what did we just vote?
We
Yes
should
and no
you-
to?
Before you called the vote, we should have discussion.
Yes.
I didn't hear any of that, I'm sorry.
His presentation about the budget.
Oh, we're voting on the budget right now.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, so now we're into discussion of
Oh.
the so if there's any questions or discussion, now is the time to do it.
oh,
Okay?
sorry.
No?
We good? Okay, you can ask questions.
Okay, Dr. Semmel.
Yeah,
You're talking about the state plan going for,
for the insurance?
insurance.
Yeah.
Does that include the town also, or is that just the Board of Ed?
The, what we're getting back from our insurance broker is just us going out as a Board of Education for a bid. The town would have to, we don't control the town, so the town would have to do that on their own.
You know, wouldn't it behoove us to at least try to include the town in this proposal to see if there's additional cost savings?
It wouldn't change the savings for us. The state plan has so many members of it right now that the town side, I can't believe would have an impact on decreasing the cost. The state plan is a particular cost for people to move into that. I do need to find out more information from our broker on that, which is why I can't make a recommendation to move to a particular plan. A lot of other conversations would have to happen. But certainly, the town council could look into that factor as well. But
Yeah, I think there probably has to be conversations from both sides of the street. Because if we're going to change to the state plan, I think it would probably be beneficial for the town to do it too, so that you have one insurance carrier for both the town side and the Board of Ed, like what I have in Bristol, where we just have one insurance carrier that takes care of both the Board of Ed and the city side.
sure. I don't know all the variables that it would affect the town side going into the state plan. So they'd have to take care of that of their own, and they'd have to make their own decision if they think it works for their budget. I can't speak for the town council. But I think it's probably worthwhile for them to have that conversation, especially now that we're finding it could be beneficial to us. But we do have far more employees than the town side has, and so that could be a factor that it may not yet be time for them to move to a state plan. They'd have to go through that process like we're going.
Right, but if you bundle all the employees, it just goes into one plan. So if there's 500 employees here and there's only 100 across the street, you're looking at 600 employees, then I go right to the state plan.
I get your logic, but you also have to think in terms of the different contracts. There's multiple different contracts over at town that I'm not knowledgeable of. So it probably is not as simple as just saying everyone's on the same plan. There'd probably have to be a good deal of work for them to make the adjustment as well.
Well, usually the way it worked with us, with the city of Bristol, was that as long as it's equal to or more than whatever the contracts are, there really isn't much the unions can do. It's if you're decreasing whatever the plans are now, that could be a union contract issue. But usually when they come up with a plan like this, it's usually equal to or better. But they usually try to get at least that equal to.
That's my assumption right now, but again, I can't speak for the town council, so.
Right. No, I understand.
Any other questions or comments for the superintendent, or Mr. Penn is actually on Skype if you want to ask him questions? Well, he can hear us.
Yeah. He's here.
He's here in spirit. Anything else? No? All right, I'm calling for a roll call vote then. All right, Josiah?
Oh.
Melissa?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Jerry?
No.
Dick?
Yes.
The yeses have it, and the budget has passed. Thank you very much.
Yep. I will make sure that this goes to the Board of Finance tomorrow night.
Thank you. We'll just give Dr. Semmel a moment to come back up because he's up next.
right, so superintendent's update?
Yeah.
So I get to give another update
Yeah.
as well. So in terms of what's going on tonight, Mr. Penn is, couldn't be here tonight, but he is here. He's joining us through Skype, as you might just have heard, and so you'll hear his voice. But I want to thank Mr. Penn for being able to join us through cyberspace tonight, and you'll hear his voice and be able to answer questions. There's a few pieces of business that we need to do that he's been instrumental with, so need to make sure that he's heard and he can answer questions. So, hello, Mr. Penn.
Can you folks hear me okay?
And we also have Mr. Penn, I believe, going through Plymouth 16, and which would mean Facebook Live. So hopefully our viewing audience at home, if things are going as they're supposed to be, can also hear Mr. Penn. So last day of school currently is Thursday, June 14th. But we also know that there's many weeks of winter. So that could change, but I just want to make sure people are aware. If they were wondering what's the last day, how many days have we had, it's been a bit of a mess. We haven't gotten a lot of accumulation, but we've gotten a lot of poor timing and a lot of kind of icy situations. So we've had to make do. And we're certainly in the same boat with a lot of towns up in this Litchfield area. So I want to just put that out there. I also want to let people know, especially our viewing audience, that our pre-K program is still accepting applications through March 2nd. And at 4 p.m., I believe, that's when the cutoff for the applications. I think we've got a lot of excitement about our pre-K program, so we're going to have more people interested in applying for the spots that we actually have. So there'll have to be a drawing at some point. Ms. Trinks, do you know when the drawing's going to be?
Well, the last application will be accepted on March 2nd.
Yeah.
And then by March 16th, parents will be notified if they have been accepted into the program of their choice, or what program they were accepted into. If there was a second choice, then they could do that. And also, anyone at that time would also be notified if they're on a wait list for available spots that may come after that.
Perfect. But it's not a first come, first serve, so you still have time to get your application in. So we encourage anybody who's interested in either our full day program or our half day programs to make sure they put their names in.
And again, those are birth years of 2014 and 2015.
Right, birth years 2014, 2015. And all the information that you need is right on the front of our website. So you can go right to the front of our website. I know, 2014, 2000. On the front of our website, there's a place that talks about pre-K registration. There's a nice little link there. You click on it. It brings you to everything you need, so it's easy enough to do. And finally, I just wanted to mention the budget piece again. Governor Malloy is proposing a $1.163 million cut. And I think the governor is out of touch, especially when it comes to small towns, because that $1.163 million that's being proposed to be cut from us, there's increases that are being proposed to go to other places that have not been cut. So not only are they being left whole, they're actually being added to. And I'm not against other students getting what they need, but I am against having, and it seems like small towns seem to be taking the biggest brunt of this. I don't have a tremendous amount of research to show that, but just from conversations with other superintendents, it seems like we're taking big hits like this. It seems to be an assumption that Plymouth can just handle it. And I think that pretty much either means that he believes that the taxpayers can afford tax increases, or we can make huge reductions to all of our budgets, or some combination in the middle there. So in my update to, like I said, my update to parents and staff tomorrow, I'm going to just give everybody names and emails and phone numbers. You can do with what you want. But the sad thing is when you talk to our reps, they'll say that nobody calls them, that they get no phone calls. And so to them, that means it's not an issue. Well, I don't want to speak for them. I don't want to say to them that means it's not an issue, but they're not feeling any kind of pressure to make some changes. And I think it's important that people have their voices heard however they feel. Whatever side they fall on, I think they should have their voices heard on that. So That's it to my update.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, moving on. You guys ready? Amy, go ahead.
Okay. On March 2nd, we are going to be having our second blood drive of the year, and we're really excited for it because we always end up filling up all the slots with either mostly students, but also a lot of staff participate too. So we're really excited about that. For PTSA, they're hosting a Krabby Owls fundraiser on February 24th at 5 p.m. And tickets are $20, and anybody that's 10 years old and under is free. So if you're interested in that, you can talk to any of the senior class parents. We are having our National Honor Society induction on March 1st here at the high school. There will be a breakfast after for all the new inductees into NHS. And for our February service project, we're having a book drive, and it ends February 20th, and we're donating all of the books that we get to our local libraries. So if anybody is interested in donating books, we would gladly appreciate it. We are also planning our spring service project, and we're looking to do something on a larger scale and try to involve more of the community. And we are going to have a spring musical on Thursday, March 15th, Friday, March 16th, and Saturday, March 17th. It's about Edgar Allan Poe. And tickets are $10 for adults and $8 for students. You can buy them at the door. The shows start at 6:30 p.m. and then on Saturday there's a matinee that starts at 1:30.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Amy? All right, Ms. Bree.
For our winter sports, we are wrapping the seasons up. For our indoor track team, they recently had states last weekend, and 2 of our very own athletes placed in the 3200. We had Corey Burkhardt, he came in 4th, and sophomore Chris DeForest came in 5th. This was a successful run for both of them as they placed personal records, and they got to place in the states. Our wrestling team had a great season as 3 of our wrestlers placed in the Berkshire League, and their season's not over yet because they go to states this weekend. Our boys basketball team are finishing up their season next week, but as of right now, they have the potential to qualify for states. They only need 2 more wins out of 3 games, so we're wishing the best of luck to them. Our booster club are the biggest support for our sports team because they help raise money, and right now they have a fundraiser for Butterbreads, so help us. Our band is getting ready for a big event at the St. Patrick's Day. They're marching in New Haven on March 11th. This is a great way for them to be broadcast due to them going on the news most of the time. Our Friends of Music is also hosting a mattress fundraiser on March 3rd here in the cafeteria from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. The money that they raise helps them to go on their big trip at the end of the year. So we're really hoping that we get a good outcome. That's all.
Thank you. Any questions? Oh, Diana?
Okay, so for our Leo Club, we have a few events coming up right now. We are actually in the midst of our collection for our Support a Soldier campaign, and we're still going to be collecting non-perishables and goods for the soldiers. It's going to be at all the schools. We have boxes and in many of the public buildings and churches. And again, we're sending them to Ian Poitras, Devin Mooring, and Mike Calderon. So starting now, we are starting sponsorship and walker campaign for our annual Walk for Diabetes. And that is our annual walk that's held on April 14th this year. It's held at Eli Terry. Everyone goes and you kind of walk around town, and all proceeds go towards juvenile diabetes research. And we have the Leo Club joining with the local Boy Scouts. We're hosting a pasta supper on March 10th at the Lyceum, and it's going to be from 4 to 8. And tickets can be bought from any of the Leos or the Scouts, and we encourage everyone to go. It's going to be a huge community event, hopefully. So for the junior class, we have recently an SAT prep session has started, and it's been going really well so far. So basically everyone that's interested in participating goes to classes every Monday during our flex period, and they give us tips, they give us tricks, and kind of teach us how to take the test. And they actually made us do a full SAT test so everyone at least has an idea of what they're going into. And they also give us kind of a little piece of homework. And it's been really helpful so far, and the kids seem to be really liking it. Also for the junior class, we are hosting a semi-formal winter ball on February 23rd, and it's just a dance for the whole school, and all of the money goes toward class activities. So finally, this past Friday, we had our winter pep rally, and it was a really great time. Everyone seemed to really enjoy themselves. We honored all the seniors in winter sports. The students, we had a staff versus students, and the students won, so sorry staff. And we actually had 3 of our teachers get pied, so that was a really exciting thing, and it really seemed to, the kids really seemed to like it. It really seemed to hype up kind of the whole school. And instead of, so our fall pep rally, we split up by color, like color wars, and this time we all wore black, and so we were all kind of in unity, and so that was really cool. And then also, I just wanted to give a little recap. I told before how we were going to the Lions Midwinter Conference and giving a presentation, and that happened on February 3rd, and it actually went really well. We were able to meet with kids and other Leo clubs from all over the state and actually host the sessions, and they seemed to really enjoy going to them. And from what I got from the other people who led it, they felt it was a really great experience to build leadership too. So,
Any questions or comments? Thank you, ladies. Okay, next up is the first public comment. Please be aware it is a 3-minute time. Karen will be timing at the last 30 seconds. She'll let you know. I need your name and address. There should be a sign-up sheet, so please feel free. There's no sign-up sheet? So just please, there's no sign-up sheet, just
State your name.
state your name and address so Ms. Pat can write it down.
Name is Pete Warhunski, 19 Coral Drive, Terryville. Representing Warhunski Transportation, the other bidder on the in-town transportation. 3 minutes, I'm going to go real quick here. I just heard Dr. Semmel talk about the future and our budget, and I had that in my email to the members of the board. It's only going to get worse here. We're laying teachers off. ECS is going to increase. All right, so we're in dire financial straits. So money means something. I'm the low bidder on that contract. The town saves over $145,000. I noticed Dr. Semmel deleted one bus. That was my idea. I can't put that in my bid, and it shouldn't have been in a bid. Deleted the bus. Let me add, so take $50,000 off of my bid, which is going to happen. It's still $145,000 a year, low bidder. I want to add here, in 2006, when Warhunski took over Thomaston, oh, wait a minute. Terryville's paying for a bus to Wamogo, and Thomaston's paying for a bus to Wamogo, both of them half full. I am the one who went before both boards. Why don't you combine your bus? You decide how you want to pay for it. And that's good. Just pay me for one bus. Believe me, with me, it's all about the town. I'm the one who came up with those ideas. And so think about that. Under the new contract, you're going to pay for a full bus to Wamogo from Terryville, and Thomas is going to pay for a full bus. Okay, so that goes back up. Bottom line, I'm low bidder. Number 2, $145,000 a year. Number 2, we got into the lawyers again. My email says all about the lawyers. All 3 towns are represented by Shipman and Goodwin. All 3 towns. Most of their information is coming from Wolcott. All right? And it's all about I went through all that with their idea, and I gave you some of the background in my email. All right, so our town of Plymouth is going to rely on an out-of-town lawyer to come up with an idea to reject my bid. All right, real quick, because I'll be running out of time here, what I suggest tonight is you delay the vote on who the transportation company is going to be. Delay it. I'm willing to delay it 2 months if necessary. And then the board, haste makes waste. Then the board is going to better, I'm sure, the representatives of the Board of Education talk to All-Star Transportation. They haven't talked to me. Maybe you should talk to me. I'm a town resident. It's in my email, what I did for the town in 50 years. Maybe what I'm suggesting here is delay the vote on the contract. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Brian Dunn, 19 Carriage Drive. One thing I just wanted to touch on, because it was only briefly talked about during the budget process for you guys, was the future plans of trying to join the financial services with the town. And originally, when I first heard that, I thought it was a pretty good idea. Anytime that you can try and share services and reduce costs, it's obviously a great idea. I think what I was looking at the time was the job that the Board of Ed and under the guidance of Mr. Penn had created. Very open, very concise, questions answered no problem, with great detail. I saw proactiveness when you saw the state being in trouble, and it's very well run. And then I started seeing what I see on the town side, and for me, the last few years especially, it's been a mess over there. They don't know what's going on. They have no idea where they stand financially. They're not proactive when they see trouble coming from the state. They spend out of control, and we really have no idea where we stand financially over there. And I don't think it's a good idea to try and bring those two together. You guys are going to put all your work in the hands of someone over there potentially, because I thought the idea was to have Mr. Penn go over there and use his wonderful work that he does and help straighten out that mess. What I see over there is a department, no matter what's going on with the embezzlement or whatever, 3.5 years ago, we're still 2 years behind in our audits. We have no idea how much money we have. I've seen appropriations of tens of thousands of dollars, delay after delay, trying to get caught up. And they can't for whatever reason. I'm not pointing fingers at who's to blame over there. I don't care. The problem is, it's a mess, and you guys do such a good job of, navigating the waters of financial, uncertainty, and you're like potentially latching on the Titanic, trying to find stability. So, the only person that has left in the town to take over both sides would be whoever's there now, but they're so far delayed and overwhelmed. I don't see how adding the Board of Ed budget to them is going to make it any better. They already can't even handle the job they have over there. So I would say don't try and save money in that one area. Grab your own business manager and stick to your own entity of running your side of the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks, Brian.
Melanie Church, 328 Main Street, Terryville. I'm coming forward, I believe, and the former speaker wasn't there for the personnel and about the interim comptroller, business manager, director of finance, whatever you want to call them. It would be more about a qualified person handling both sides. And that would be the same as with Canton, where Mr. Penn went. There's a qualified person, from what I understand, coming in here as an interim and would be willing to take both sides. We are in a mess. And that's why you can't keep saying, well, the taxpayers can pick it up. Because the taxpayers don't have the money either. And when you run a home, when you don't have the money, you start cutting. I don't understand why you did not look to combine the high school with Region 10. I do not understand. Plus, you already started with a lesser budget. And this is not. It's just about, I thought it was $800,000 that the school side was going to pay for the cuts. Instead, I see about $300,000 here in the numbers. Now, we can't afford it. And that's what you have to understand. We're not Southington. We're not West Hartford. We're a distressed community. You have people that are hurting. And that's what you have to look at for a budget. If you close one school, do you realize the cost savings? And the thing of it is, I'm not saying you don't give these kids a quality education. They're going to get a quality education. Send them to Region 10. Give these kids a chance. Don't look at your own personal gain, your job. Look at what's best for the kids. I'm urging you to do that. I want to see a combined business manager. Because with the school side, you have to have a number of requirements in order to be a business manager. And that would be on the town side. We would be back on our feet. Who has heard over 4 years we're 2 years behind? Do you realize this year is a fictitious budget? Because we still don't have bottom line numbers. You know, when you people came to us and asked us for the solar, we gave it to you. We gave it to you. It wasn't your choice alone. You had to come to us to approve it, to the townspeople. We have given, but now the people are broke. And to me, you can cut it more. If you survive this year with those cuts, why do you need to add it all back on again? You can't keep increasing it. The people here cannot afford it. And if you're looking at another 1.16 or 1.61, whatever you're looking at for a cut, you should plan it. That's out of your pocketbook. You can't keep throwing it on the taxpayers. We're one of the highest. We're actually the highest in the Litchfield County for taxes.
Please wrap it up.
Okay. With that, I hope that you will reconsider, go back through this budget, and start looking at cuts, not increases. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more public comment? Going once, going twice. Okay, moving on. Thank you. We have no unfinished business, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Michelle?
Second.
Melissa, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Okay, new business. This is all you.
Yep, so we're, the new business, we have some contracts to take a look at, and Mr. Penn, can you still hear us?
I can still hear you.
Would you like to walk us through the new business, starting with the out-of-district special education bus contract, just a couple of words?
Sure. Over the past couple of months, as you know, we've been negotiating with Kid Wheels, Inc. Out of Bristol. Shipman and Goodwin took the lead on putting together the contract, which follows on from the RFP that was issued. There were a number of very minor items that went back and forth between the two attorneys. What you have now over the past, I think, 2 weeks or so has been the finalized contract that's ready for approval at this point. They're eager to get going with us, and I think as a district, we're eager to get going with them as well. Their references were excellent, all very much very supportive of them, and came out of committee to approve the contract tonight for the out-of-district special ed transportation.
It's coming from committee, so we don't need a second.
You don't need a second, but you do need a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the out-of-district special education bus contract as presented.
Okay, is there any discussion, because there's no second needed, or any concerns, comments?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
Which contract was Mr. Warhunski speaking about?
The regular.
Okay,
So
I
that's
thought
coming
so.
up next year.
I thought so.
Okay. Any other questions or comments before, it's a roll call vote? Okay, Jerry?
No.
Dick?
Yes.
Josiah?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to the regular ed bus contract, Mr. Penn.
You good?
Apparently having a couple of technical difficulties.
Yeah, actually, you just started coming back in just now.
All right, excellent. So you can hear us?
Now I can hear you.
All right, so the vote was taken on the out-of-district special education contract. So we now have that, and we'll be signing that at the end of the night. So we're moving on to the regular ed bus contract.
Okay, so in a very similar vein, we had Shipman and Goodwin draft a regular education bus contract based on the RFP that was issued. There was a very, very minor number of changes that were recommended back to us from the vendor, all of which we accepted. The board was issued a copy of the contract, I believe, and with the attachments, I believe, on Monday night. And again, in a sort of similar vein, it's my recommendation that we move forward with approving this contract tonight and having All-Star continue as our bus vendor for the next 5 years.
I'd like to
And
make a
again,
motion.
I think there was a motion coming out of subcommittee.
Yes, and I'll make that motion to approve the regular education bus contract.
So no second is needed, so we can go right into discussion or questions.
Yes, I guess I would like to ask. I have no idea what Mr. Warhunski was talking about. Would either you or Mr. Penn mind having any sort of response or comment, just so I can understand what he was saying?
Sure, Mr. Penn, do you want to take that, or do you want me to do that?
Well, why don't you start and I'll chime in as needed.
Right, and I'm going to be just careful because we did receive a letter from a lawyer, so there being a potential legal matter, I want to make sure I don't go too deep into this. We do have a response going back to Mr. Warhunski. I'm not going to go over all the claims, but in working with Shipman and Goodwin, they take a look, and all three districts are using Shipman and Goodwin to save actual money around legal costs to do this. So they took a look at the bids we received. We had a concern that one of the bids really needed to be disqualified because it didn't meet the RFP, one of the major qualifications, which was an equipment list. It's important for our students to be able to get back and forth from home here, and so in our RFP, we made it very clear we needed an equipment list. One of the bids did not include any kind of demonstration that there was any buses owned for that particular bid. So therefore, Shipman and Goodwin made it very clear that we should disqualify that particular bid. So therefore, in our opinion and the opinion of Shipman and Goodwin, there was only one actual bid that we were working off of. And at our last Board of Finance and Operations Committee, we discussed that particular bid was within the market price of other bids in our area. So we felt comfortable that the cost was also, like I said, in the market price. So that's probably as much as I'd like to say on that at this point. But I hope that answers your question.
Just to add on to that, Dr. Tummel.
Please.
One of the things that Shipman Goodwin also pointed out to me, which I knew, was that our own board policy requires that when we contract with a potential vendor for bus services, that there must be an equipment list that's attached to the bid. That is actually in board policy. The second thing that Shipman and Goodwin pointed out is that there was no operating history for this particular bidder that was rejected. The company had days prior to the bid being due. So effectively, it was Shipman and Goodwin's recommendation that be treated as a non-responsive bid. And therefore, effectively, that left us with the one bidder who we're recommending to go to contract with tonight.
you have another question?
So I don't want to have you have to say anything. So
ask whatever
tell
question
me,
you want.
Just tell me. Hey, I can't say that
Yep.
if you can't say
Yep.
something. Was the disqualified bid informed of? What is the disqualified bid? Was the disqualified bidder able to be qualified if they did something differently, or was it like there's no way? Trying to word this in a way that even I know what I'm trying to ask.
Well, I think the important thing, especially around the equipment list, is that it would be hard to be able to show that you actually own equipment when you don't. So,
Okay.
Plus the RFPs were due on a certain date and they're opened in public, and
Okay.
so there's that process. So we would have had to go back out to bid in order to do something like that, but it was our determination with the other towns that what we had was probably going to be the best that we were going to get in this process.
Okay.
And we had put out our bid on all the places you're supposed to put it. We made our RFP as public as possible, trying to make sure that any potential bidder out there who was interested would have had the chance to submit something to us.
This is on the bidder to complete a bid and have a responsive bid. It's not on us as a district to make sure that they do that.
You good? Anything else? Any other questions or comments or concerns? Dick, please.
Just from my own perspective, Warhunski Company had serviced the town very well for many years. And I've heard a few things tonight that get me thinking. And I realized the original bid was probably not done properly. But I'm just also thinking, in the interest of time, if it's not something that has to be done like today, that I can see possibly holding off, provided they can provide the contract as it should have been done. That would be my thought.
To go in that direction, just so you know, we'd have to go back out to bid.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I just want to make that clear. And so that'd be an important consideration.
Some conversation with the potential accepted bidder over that, because then you're effectively violating your own bidding process in doing so.
Right.
anything else? All right, I'm going, it is a roll call vote. Jerry?
No.
Dick?
No.
Josiah?
No.
Melissa?
No.
Michelle?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
The noes have it.
So I do have to ask what the board would like me to do, move forward with this, because I think we need to stay on this item, because we did have a bid. We had a legal bid process. We had a legal bidder, and we went forward and developed a contract with the legal bidder. And so come September, the kids will want to make sure they're still being transported to school. So we're going to have to get some direction
Because that's
from
when
you
it's going to
guys.
start.
Go ahead, Mr. Penn.
It's actually not September, it's July, so
Yeah, July.
there is a time element here.
Thank you for that reminder.
Jerry?
Is there a possibility they could just make a motion to table this for further discussion between the two entities that are having issue with this before we get into a lot of legal fees that we might have to incur on both parties? And the only reason being is that, so that, like everybody wants to know about legal opinion, legal opinion technically is what the lawyers say, but I think maybe a little bit of cooling off period, we just table this, is a discussion amongst the entities, the two individuals that are having issues with this, and see if there can be a solution. If there can't be, then you bring this to the next board meeting and then we vote on it, you know, so that we can, and I don't want to pit this as, you know, a town resident, you know, against, you know, us. I mean, I don't want to get into that type of contest. I think that we just need to have a small little cooling off period, even if it's 30 days, so that we can ascertain. Because it seems like some of us are on the fence on how this is, and just needs to be some clarification.
So my suggestion is if you want to table it, I would absolutely agree with that, but I would want you guys to give us a time frame to untable it.
That's what I'm trying
Yeah,
to
and
say.
you said 30 days, so I would agree that we should come into it and untable it then.
By the next board meeting.
Yes, I
that
agree.
there's whatever the differences of opinion between the entities, okay, are resolved, and bring it back to us.
Okay.
And I think it would be beneficial to all the parties involved. Okay, so, and that would also, the vendor that actually won just understands that it just needs a cooling off period. It's nothing against them, okay, and I don't want to see them, you know, say, well, TFB, and this is what the bid is now, and it's more money. But, so, do you have an issue if do you have a problem if I just make a motion to
No,
table it?
absolutely. I
have a question. We've already had a motion and a vote, so
Right.
does that have to be retracted before we can?
No, because you guys voted it down. He's tabling the discussion.
Okay.
And because Dr. Summer wants us to give him direction. He's
Understand.
tabling discussion, we just table it, and then we have this time to get things together, and we reopen it
I'll
at the
second
next
the
meeting.
But that's where I'm trying to
Absolutely.
get, so
but
that
I want to point out something you did say that I want everybody to be clear. It is a possibility that if we go with the vendor we were looking at, we could be potentially looking at more money. So I just want you all to be very clear about that, because it's opening up the bid. So, but if you want to make that motion, and Dick, you're seconded it, then I need, yes, we're tabling it, and we will bring it back for full discussion at the next meeting. Does everybody understand what's happening? Are you good with that?
Do we need to vote on it, or?
Yes, please. So we're tabling it. We're tabling the discussion right now. We're not going to go further tonight.
So we're voting on whether or not we're tabling it?
Yes.
Yes.
So would you like me to vote?
Yes.
No.
Melissa?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we are tabling it. Thank you, and this will be on the agenda to untable at the next meeting, and we will compile some information for everybody. So
Yeah, it's just, so we can't talk about it anymore?
Nope, we
Okay.
can't talk about it anymore. It's done. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So the only thing, I'll have to have some, I guess I'm talking then, the board's not talking, but in terms of bringing it back to March, you know, to a March board meeting, I'm going to have to get more direction than I have received so far, because there's only a couple of different options that I have in terms of this. And so just want to make it clear that right now I don't have
I do believe what's going to happen is there's going to be some information given to the board from you that we're going to be looking at throughout the month.
That's fine.
Is that where
Just
you-
giving us an opportunity to have a little bit more time before we come back and have another, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right, Miss Karen.
No.
Oh, did I miss one?
Now we have the shared
I'm
service
sorry.
agreement.
See,
Yep.
look at that, I just went right over one. That was my one, we're good.
Phil, we're at the shared services agreement for the food services director. Do you want to give a quick lead into that?
Yeah, sure. So maybe this one goes a little more smoothly. So we have a shared services agreement where we share currently our food services director with 3 other districts. We're looking to formalize the agreement and extend it for a 3-year period. Plymouth would have access to the food services director 2 days of the week, therefore 40% of the time, and therefore we would pick up 40% of the shared cost. Each of the other 3 districts would have access to the food service director 1 day a week, and therefore 20% of the cost each time for each district. Couple of good things that I think come out of this. It elongates the relationship in terms of time with the other districts. And for something that's actually been working very, very well for all 4 of us districts. so far, and actually it gives some cold comfort to our food services director that her contract is out there for more than just a 12-month period. As I mentioned in the finance and operations meeting earlier today, we're probably running at about a $30,000 surplus so far this year, and that compares to what had been annual losses of about $60,000 a year before we went in-house. So again, it's my recommendation that we move forward with the shared services agreement for the food services director.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the shared service agreement for the food services director as discussed at the Finance Operations Subcommittee meeting.
Coming out of committee does not need a second. We'll go right into discussion or comments. Anything? All right, it's a roll call vote. Isaiah?
Aye.
Melissa?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Yes.
Dick? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Penn.
Sure.
Okay. Now it's board committee.
Okay, I'm up first with Finance and Operations. The Finance Operations Subcommittee met prior to the board meeting and reviewed the accounts by facility report for the month of January. That report will be forwarded to the Town of Plymouth Board of Finance. We did receive some transfer items that Mr. Penn would like to do to make, you should have that in your packet, some transfers that he would like to make from some accounts to others to kind of shore up his accounts so that he leaves everything in the cleanest shape as possible, as he said it to his predecessor. So I would like to make a motion to approve the transfers as written.
Coming out of committee does not need a second. Any questions or comments before the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Josiah, since you were the vice chair at this meeting, you get to take this report.
All right, so the Student Achievements Subcommittee met on February 1st and discussed nomination and election of vice chair. They nominated and elected me vice chair. We reviewed the curriculum writing plan and curriculum policies and procedures, and the superintendent and curriculum director answered some questions that I had about the process of the board and their role in curriculum, and I think my questions were adequately answered. So, yeah, that's the report.
Okay, any questions? Comments?
Comment that I have, if you look at the minutes of that, there was a typo.
Is it?
Yes, there is.
Is it a housekeeping typo or is it major?
No, I think it's housekeeping because they referred to Jen Parsons as Jen Parr.
Oh, okay, so as a, okay, so
Yeah,
we'll
it
fix
just
that under
needs
housekeeping.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's just a typo error, that's
Thank
it.
you. Anything else? Okay, Melissa?
The Policy Subcommittee met on Thursday, January 12th, 2018, and on Thursday, February 1st, 2018, in the conference room at Central Office, and continued their review of Policy Series 6000 instruction.
Are we getting it soon?
Maybe. Ish.
Do you mind if I just add one little piece to that?
Certainly.
So February 22nd, we're slated to meet again, and I'm hoping folks on the committee are willing to, stay a little bit later. We might be able to finish the 6,000 series up on that night. So just want to give you a heads up that it's very real possibility that we could finish on February 22nd, maybe just with an extra half hour onto our time frame. If it's going to be more than that, we'd have to
I don't know, I see some
Are you bringing the
smarts.
coffee?
I know.
Bring chocolate.
You have now chocolate.
We have the possibility of bringing the 6,000 to the Board of Ed for a March meeting. We need two reads, and we also have the 7,000s to finish before the end of this year. So just kind of wanted to throw it out there that, if you had plans already and you couldn't, we understand. We're just not sure, but it's the last chunk of the 6,000 series for us to take a look at. So the team's been working very hard and doing very, very well so far with it.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Especially the committee members? Okay. There is no report for negotiations, so we can move along. Our second public comment, again, 3 minutes. Name and address is open.
Pete Rohansky, 19 Coral Drive. I thank the board, as local residents, fellow residents, for haste not waste. I'm talking as a fellow resident taxpayer. I've been in town. It's going to be 70 years in June. For me, it's all about the town. Somebody show me since 1951 where Hunsky Bus Company didn't do in the best interest of this town. I don't think, in all due respect to business manager Penn, who's leaving the town, he should be voicing an opinion about using out-of-town lawyers to help us run our town. I told you, I am a professional engineer. I know what a bid document is. Believe me when I tell you board members, believe me, I don't want to get lawyered up on this. And I'm not saying I'm suing fellow residents. There are, I believe it, and I heard Dr. Semmel, he didn't list the buses he's going to use on the bid. No, that is no reason to deny the bid. Believe me, I know what I'm talking about. I'm not bragging about it. All right? And, okay, and again, I don't want to sound, I'm talking to residents. I'm talking about our town. And I asked about that. Gee, well, you asked the other bidder questions. Nobody asked me. Nobody, and it's in my email. Are you financially qualified? Oh, by the way, he didn't list his buses. Well, neither did the other bidder. By the way, I've got the contract right here. Anybody want to see it? I know what I'm talking about. I'm not bragging, but I thank fellow residents that care about their own school system. I'm not going anywhere, and I don't think any of you are going anywhere. Thank you very much for your time. Like I said in my emails, I'd be more than happy to come in. I'd be more than happy. So this board hears both sides of a story, and one of them being a fellow resident that it's all about the town of Plymouth. Thank you very much.
Dan Gentile, 269 Mountain Road, Plymouth, Connecticut. And I'm just going to switch gears here. Something I talked about years ago. Cell phones in the school. You guys are working on policy. It wasn't a popular issue back when I was on the board. I did bring it up on when the kids go into the classroom. I don't know if you changed this because I didn't check into it. You might have a policy already. But my daughter was guilty, as her friends, my son's friends. They all use these things during school. School's supposed to be time when you're learning your core curriculum and making yourself better. You can do these after school. And now it's starting to become popular because I'm seeing this more and more on the news where cell phones, when they come into the classroom, there's a box. They leave their cell phones at the teacher's desk. There's another, I guess they have like a lock where they slip the cell phone in the lock in the beginning of the day and they lock the cell phone so the students on it. And I know, I sit on the board, I heard every excuse in the world why they need to have them. I'm just switching gears and throwing something out there for you guys to chew on. And happy Valentine's Day. But give you a little more controversy. But it was a hot topic. I guess it's becoming more popular to not have all the students with their cell phones because my daughter was guilty, both of them, my son. They always texted during school between each other, within each other. So good luck. See if you get it, because you guys are working on policy. Make a policy that they leave them in the desk. Enjoy.
Christimo Kinzer, 52 Old Farm Road. Okay, so I wasn't planning on saying anything, but Dan just brought up something that it's actually a good point. I actually just read an article, and I wasn't prepared for it, but there was an article that was published last week about a district that did this. And of course, they got a little bit of pushback from the kids. They didn't like that very much. But the proof has been in the pudding. All their grades have been going up. They've been focusing more on, getting things done. So it is a policy. I know there are other districts that basically don't, they just don't allow it. They get caught with it. The phone or the kid goes down to the office, and that's it. There's a point there. They're in their classroom to be learning, not to be playing on their cell phones. So last month I did speak in support of combining the business manager, and I still think it's a good idea. Previous speaker brought up a good point that Mr. Penn has done very well for the Board of Ed. And I know you guys are exploring this, so if we do move to look at one business manager for both sides of the street, that we need to make sure that, and I'm probably not telling you anything you don't already know, but we need to make sure that this person is impartial, that they are taking both sides of the street very seriously, and they're not just going to. So I think maybe looking at somebody completely new and fresh would be the best way to go here, as opposed to using somebody we already have. So something to think about. Thank you.
I am going to make a comment. I normally don't, but the person who would have to be qualified has to have their 085, right?
Yep, 085.
So in order to work on our side, so that also makes a big difference, just so you all know that.
Yeah, remember you brought that up last month, and thank you for clarifying that.
No problem. Mm-hmm. Any other public comment?
Melanie Church, 328 Main Street. Thank you for tabling that decision for the bus, because we do have to keep looking, and according to the charter, we have to look, and if the qualified bidder, lowest bidder, according to the charter, is one person, and if they can meet the qualifications, we should be going with them, and that's part of the problem, is this is not being followed in many departments. So I think it would be excellent for this Board of Education to follow that part of the charter. That is a check and a balance. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Going once, going twice, thank you. Switching gears, we are going to go on to board liaisons. Melissa.
Unfortunately, I had a scheduling conflict, so I do not have a report from.
Thank you. Well, Michelle?
Yes, hi. Upcoming event for Plymouth Center is bowling this Saturday from 6 to 8 at Spare Time in Bristol. They're going to be having their family bingo March 6th from 6 to 8 at the school. And then the book fair is also on March 12th through the 16th.
Is that usually the same as their conferences, right? Isn't that conference time? Yeah, okay.
That's all I have.
Any questions? All right, moving on. Eli.
So, I haven't been to a single one because they keep getting postponed or canceled. And the upcoming one is apparently on February 27th. And, well, we'll see if that actually happened. I actually was talking to Pat about one of them, and I called her and said, I think I'm supposed to be a liaison somewhere soon, and it's not on my calendar. And she's like, oh, that's tonight. And then I was, oh, thank goodness. And then she's like, never mind, it got canceled. So.
I do believe that there is a roller skating townwide, but it's sponsored by Eli. Isn't it Friday? It was last night? Oh, okay. But I know that they sponsored it. They started it, so there you go.
I will say, because of that call from Mr. Elsevier, that I have talked to Ms. Piskorski to make sure that all the PTA presidents have the board liaison on their email, because when we heard about the changes to those PTA meetings, we didn't know how the board member was going to actually hear about it. So hopefully you are getting emails from the PTA presidents. They will be. They will be?
I
so
do. I already do.
So you already do, but I don't know that everybody had the same, had that same thing going on. So from now on, we're trying to make sure we clean that up so you don't get kind of caught off guard. So we apologize for that happening to you.
And just so you all know, once we have 2 more board members, we're actually going to have, like, backups for you guys for certain meetings. So if you can't make it, you can call that other person and make sure there's a coverage. So hopefully when those people come on, we'll be able to do that for you guys, okay?
Thank you.
All right, Karen.
Yes, Terryville High School PTSA met on February 7th, so a week ago, and they primarily talk about the after-grad party and fundraising for the after-grad party. I have some flyers here for the project graduation, Krabby Al's fundraiser on February 24th. So if anybody would like to take a flyer, I would appreciate that, just to have the information. They are hoping for some great participation. There will be a raffle, a 50-50. There's actually going to be a band there that night, so they will be having entertainment. And the buffet is, I believe, $20. I should have that information here.
So you said 20, right? Yeah. Amy
Yeah,
said
$20. And 10 and under is free. Yes, just like Amy said. So please consider joining us at Krabby Al's for the after-grad party for a safe celebration for our lovely seniors.
And if you can't make it, you could always donate like I did.
Yes.
You could donate a raffle item.
Or
So you-
money.
Or money, right.
is great.
Mr. Foot?
I have no report. At the last SEPTA meeting, no one showed up. And there's one tomorrow night, and I have a previous engagement, so I can't.
And aren't you lucky there's two of us still to go to that meeting for you, so you're good to go. You already have coverage. Jerry?
Well, unfortunately, I don't know what's going on with Kate, but this is the second meeting I show up to and the door's locked.
Oh, so you're not getting emails either.
So I would love to give you a CABE report, but other than the door was locked.
Not much to say.
We have no
It gets very frustrating when I have to drive from here to Weathersfield during rush hour traffic.
Yeah.
And then I get there and, oh my God, there's only 2 cars in the parking lot. I guess they must be closed.
We're going to check on that. I don't know why that's happening.
I have
We'll
no
check on
idea,
that
but
for
this
you.
is the second time that I go.
Yeah.
So,
But of course, Day on the Hill's coming up, so March 7th.
yes, Day in the Hill is coming up, and I do believe Pat sent out emails
Yeah.
for individuals. I would tell you right now, it would behoove you, if you really would like to know what's going on Day in the Hill, is to actually go up there. Hopefully they have some good speakers that'll come from the legislature, because I'm sure they'll be in session. And maybe they can give you some insight on where they're leaning to, but in all honesty, it's all up to the governor. They gave him some powers to cut money out of budget, you know, because they didn't want to do it to infuriate other towns, so they let the governor do it. Might as well he's a lame duck. Might as well let people throw stones at his glass house than it is to throw stones at their glass house. So,
And we do have a few of us that are going, so
yeah.
thank you. All right, any last board comments before I do my final? Go ahead.
I just have one, and I want to talk about cell phones that Mr. Gentile brought out. I did read an article in the Hartford Current. It might have been maybe about 2 weeks ago. It was actually an editorial. There is a college professor, I do believe, at Southern, who in his class, he tells the students that they have to put their cell phones up on the table. And oh, by the way, if you get caught with using your cell phone during your class, you lose a letter grade. So he has gotten huge response from his students that now they have no distractions. They really, initially he was like, well, are you kidding me? But when he said that if you get caught, you lose a letter grade, that really tweaked their interest. And we all know college students, we all have them, okay, or will have them, that when you start losing letter grades and it ties to money from mommy and daddy, it's an incentive to put that phone down. So it's not only on the high school level that they're trying to do it, they're also doing it at the colleges too.
Absolutely, you're welcome to make a comment.
So, no, I just want to make it clear that, I know in the middle school, because my sister's in the middle school, they do have a really strict policy where they're like, cell phones in your lockers, don't touch them. And then in the high school, it's pretty teacher individual based, but we're not just kind of free reign and the whole thing. It's not like we're just flying them around. So.
Some of you use it for research, right?
That's right.
Yeah, a lot of us.
It definitely depends on the teacher and what they're.
Because there are some schools you have to have a cell phone or an iPad in order to actually in your classroom. So it all depends. Okay.
I've in the classroom just about every day, and I'm surprised at the kind of information these kids can get. Yes, it's true. Some of them are texting and stuff, but at least they're not killing each other. But the kids that are actually working, they can use it as a dictionary and a encyclopedia. So it is a tool.
I have a comment along the same lines. I feel pretty passionately about it. I agree that maybe some sort of, I know that the kids in high school every teacher has a different system, and I agree that if the teachers wanted to collect the cell phones in like a little pocket chart or something like that at the beginning of the day, that'd be great. I would not, and I'll make this very clear, I will never support kids' phones being taken away from them for the entire day. With what's going on in the world, and cell phones should be with the kids if there was ever an emergency. My own children, during their study halls, maybe during class, I have no idea, text me if they need to be picked up, what time their practices are, things like that. I would adamantly not support having kids' cell phones taken away for the entire day. Just my opinion.
Anybody else? Okay, I guess I'm gonna say something too. Considering what happened in Florida today, there was a mother on NPR was thankful both of her daughters were able to contact her and say, I'm okay. So there's two sides to those stories, right? Yes. I mean, I see that there's some side that kids abuse it, but there is a safety for some parents. So that's just my thought process on that. And yes, I do listen to NPR sometimes. My final board comment is I think that was the most interesting meeting we've had. So thank you for the discussion, and we will make sure that you all are up to date as soon as possible. Superintendent and I will be talking with Mr. Penn soon, and we will get this ball rolling for next meeting, which is March 14th, 7 o'clock here at the cafeteria at Terryville High School, Wednesday. So I would like to...
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.